Welcome to the Tick Tock Podcast. The clock is always ticking, so let's synchronize our watches and dive in. I'm your host, Callie Brigham, and I'm here to help you make time for what matters. Hey friends. So we have had some pretty special episodes in this last almost year that the podcast has been around. We've had my grandma Deedle, who is celebrating her 100th year. We've had my mom. I would say those are two pretty special women. Well, I mean, they better hold on to their hats because we're gonna break the internet with this one today. And just a little background. I had my son Braden, and not long after that, I was pregnant with my second baby. I was so excited. And I went into that appointment early on in my pregnancy so that the doctor could just check everything out, make sure everything was great. And as I was in there, and just a little backstory, Braden, my son, I would say he's pretty relaxed, chill kind of kid, just to set the stage. Okay. And he even was as a baby and a toddler. So I go in and we do the little thing and we're looking at the screen, the doctor and I, and the nurse that's in there. And I look at the screen and I said to the doctor, what's the baby doing? He looks at the screen and he looks at me and he said, the baby's spinning and twirling and spinning. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, well, you know how your son's pretty laid back and relaxed? He goes, look out for this one. This is going to be a wild ride. And you know what? He was right. She is spinning and twirling through life with such joy and such beauty. And she is my little built-in best friend. She's my Maddie girl. So my daughter, Maddie, welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited.
Are you excited to be here?
Yes.
Okay. This is also a special day to have Maddie on because even though we're not recording this on today, this podcast is airing on your
Birthday.
It's your birthday, girl.
My 14th
14. What an amazing 14 years. I'm so blessed, baby girl, that I've gotten to be your mama. And we have a very special relationship, I think.
We do.
Okay, good. And we're going to have a teen tell all today, is what I hear. Is that right?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, so no filters, no editing. This is going to be the real deal.
Yep.
All right. Well, should we do it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, here we go. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. So, Maddie, you are in what grade?
8th grade.
8th grade, and you have a lot going on in life. You have your academics at school. You have athletics with playing volleyball. That's a lot at your age, plus a lot of other extracurricular things you like to do, mock trial, all that stuff, church, you name it. So let's just go for the big one. How do you do it all? How do you balance all these things at your age and with everything going on?
Well, volleyball is usually, we have a 3-touch rule at our school. So that doesn't make it an overwhelming week just from athletics.
And tell people what 3-touch means if they're not.
So 3 touches, basically, if I have 2 practices, I can only have 1 game. And if I have 2 games, I can only have 1 practice, just because our school values academics more than athletics. So that makes it not too overwhelming, just athletics. And academics, I try and get as much done as I can at school if I have extra time after class. And I also use my long car rides home and to school to just catch up on some reading or get ahead on reading to just lighten my load for that afternoon. And if I have a long volleyball game and it's already getting late and we have a long drive home, I'll just use that time to read. So then I can get home and just have a chill night to just shower and get to bed and be ready for the next day.
So what you're saying is you like to maximize the time that you do have so that you try to avoid as much as possible feeling overwhelmed or burned out. But I know sometimes that still happens. I mean, that's kind of normal. So how do you try to handle when you're feeling maybe a little overwhelmed, or like you just don't know how you're going to get everything done?
Okay, well, I would say that my mom is probably my biggest help in that area. Sometimes, let's be real, on the way home, I'm stressed out about the reading I have to do or the homework I have to accomplish, and she just says, "Hey, just take a 20-minute nap, and you can start after." And that always helps me because naps are just, I love naps so much.
You've always been a napper. You know, Mad, there's, if you remember in the Old Testament, there was Elijah, and he was feeling like he was the only one that was serving God, and everybody else quit on him, and he was just feeling some kind of way. And the angel came down and he told him to have a snack and take a nap. I kind of feel like that's you. If you have a snack and a nap, you can usually handle whatever comes your way.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also my mom, she also tells me something I'll always remember, that just take it one thing at a time. And that also helps me in volleyball as well. For serving, there's one dad, and he likes to tell me, "Hey, one serve at a time," because there was a episode of time that I was struggling with my serves, and I was just, every time I'd get up there, I'm like, please go over, because I know I can make them over. It's just if I miss another, then it's not going to be pretty. But yeah, just remembering that it's one at a time and being like, please God, help this to go over. It usually helps a lot just to clear everything out of my head. And so yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sometimes we just need to clear it out of our head and simplify it, because it feels like, oh my goodness, everything has to get done tonight. It all has to happen right in this moment. When in reality, it's more prioritizing. Okay, what's the one thing I can do now? And then after that, what's the one thing after that? Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I remember, I think it was probably 2 weeks ago, I had an essay due. And I was finishing up my last paragraph of my final draft, and then water got all over it and ruined the whole thing. And this was Sunday night. So I had my little meltdown on the ground for about 5 minutes. It was very bad.
I think you're making everybody feel a little bit better now, because they might have a meltdown on the ground too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did. Right in the living room.
But then I realized every second that I'm spending crying, I could have used to rewrite my essay. So I was like, okay, get off the ground. Let's go to work. Let's get this done, because it's going to have to get done, as much as I don't want to accept that fact. So I did half of it that night and then half of it in the morning. And I only woke up about 10 minutes earlier, so it really wasn't that bad. And it looked better, because I had some notes and stuff that I wanted to fix in my final draft, but it would look kind of weird, like erasing, and then there's some gaps. So in the long run, it helped. It looked better.
I love that, Maddie, that the time that we're spending either having it come apart or feeling sorry for ourselves or crying or maybe even procrastinating, we could have had the thing done.
Yeah,
that time.
Yep.
Okay. But yeah, sometimes we need a middle of the kitchen meltdown, and then we take a deep breath, and then we get back to it.
Yep.
Is that right? Okay. Yep. All right. So this is really good. Now, since this is a teen tell all, it's not just about balancing sports and extracurriculars and all those things, but a big thing that you and your generation have to handle is social media and technology. Okay, you ready?
Yep.
All right. So what role does social media play in your life, Mad, and how do you feel about it?
So I'm not allowed to have social media, which I'm very glad of, because I know it would definitely negatively impact me. But sometimes I sneak a little bit on my parents' iPad and just look at what's popping in people's lives. And
by sneak, we know that you do it.
It's not like I'm not allowed to.
No. Well, you're looking at like my Facebook or Instagram or
seeing
right?
What embarrassing photos.
Is there anything? I was gonna say, is there anything you need to confess right now?
Nope.
Okay.
But
so you tend to, you want to look at it and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, definitely. And I have YouTube, and I would say I probably spend more time on my phone than I should be. And I will admit that because everyone falls short sometimes. But
I'm guilty too.
Yep.
Yeah.
But sometimes, sometimes YouTube can be, it just really depends on what's showing up on my For You page. Sometimes it's negative stuff, sometimes it's positive stuff. Like sometimes I get things about God, and I love that. They're like, okay, let's take a 30-second break and pray with me. And sometimes I need that. But other times there's just stuff that's just not good for me on there. And it's hard to just like get off of it, because it's nice to just shut my brain off for a minute or maybe a few hours. But eventually I need to turn my brain back off. And I'd say I know when I'm on it for too long, and I try to get off it when I can. Like last night, I was on it for a while, so I just picked up a book and just shut my brain off for 25-30 minutes, and it was Little Women. And it was a good start. Because I've seen the movie, so it was very good. And while we're on this topic, I would say I definitely recommend reading the book before watching the movie, because now in my head I see all of the characters, so I have no imagination of what they would look like. So, but yeah, I definitely read the book first.
I'm with you, girl. I always want to read the book first. But then the only problem is sometimes you get a picture in your head what you think they look like. Then you watch the movie, and then you're so distracted in the movie because you're like, that's not how they look.
That's not what they look
right. I know. But reading the book is always better. And the books are always better too, I love how you said it's like turning your brain on, turning your brain off. Sometimes we do need an escape, and it's nice to just kind of veg out a little bit, but we want to make sure that we are using our brain, or that we're using it for good. And I think that's one of the things that, if we're not careful, that social media can have a negative effect on it. So, all right, pressure. You are now 14 years old. You're a girl.
Yep.
In this day and age. How do you stay true to yourself, Maddie, with so many influences out there all day, every day?
Well, the biggest thing definitely that girls struggle with is confidence. And I feel like that us girls are making insecurities out of things that we don't need to be insecure about. Like, yes, her nose might be more proportionate to her face than mine is, but they all do the same purpose. They all let us breathe. Like some people don't even have noses, and it might be something so small to appreciate, but we need to thank God for what we look like. I mean, if we are calling ourselves ugly, then we're calling God's creation of us ugly. So we're calling what God made us and how we look and our differences to others. We're saying that we don't like it and that we're ugly. And one thing I remember I saw online a while ago was that some girls are just own what you're doing. Just be confident in what you're doing, because I promise you, people are not looking at you and judging you. They're thinking of themselves and thinking, oh no, do I look good? Oh no, is that girl judging me? So always be true to yourself and just own what you want, because you want to be an influence for other girls you see too. Because I promise you, girls are going to see you and be like, I wish I had that confidence. So now you know the little secret to having that confidence.
Maddie, that is not something new for you. I remember you were little. I mean, like, quite a few years ago, and I asked you, I don't know if it was about confidence or how you felt about a certain situation, and you said, well, maybe I asked if you were nervous about something. You were like, there's no reason to be nervous because everybody else out there is just thinking about themselves. They're not really caring that much about me, so why would I be nervous? Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I remember that? It was, we were on our way to Camp of the Pines, and I was meeting some friends there, but I was kind of nervous, but I wasn't too nervous. But looking back at that outfit I wore, I should have been more nervous because it was not a good outfit.
I'm sure at the time you thought it was great.
Yeah.
You've always marched to your own drum with your fashion, and I've loved it, and I've always let you go for it in every way. One of my friends and mentors, I love how she said it. She said, do you know what DNA stands for? Not the scientific words of DNA. DNA, which of course is what makes us us, right? All of our molecules and everything in us, our genetics. DNA stands for do not argue. So what that means is do not argue with God. This is how he made you. He made your ears this way, your nose this way, your gorgeous hair. Your gorgeous hair. I have hair envy of my own daughter. Your gorgeous hair, or whatever it is that made you uniquely you. Don't argue with God about it, right?
And it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because this was a positive impact. On YouTube today, I got a video, and it was that your face is a craft it's like a mosaic of all of the people that came before you. And I kind of like that, because not only are you calling God's creation of you ugly, but you're calling your ancestors ugly. And I don't know, I like how I look. So there's some things obviously that every girl struggles with, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah. And you've been through a journey too. We're not going to talk all about that today, but you've been through a journey to get to this point as well. And so I think honoring who you are and appreciating what you've been through. And I love that about, you've got your me and Yaya and Grandma Deedle and Nana and your dad. Yes, your dad's hair.
We don't know who the big lips came from.
I know. I'm like, you've got these gorgeous, juicy lips. So I just have to put more lip gloss on mine. It's fine. You're welcome from somewhere in there. Yeah, maybe it was, maybe it was your great grandma Belle that your middle name is named for. We can just go with that. I love that, Maddie. Well, we kind of already talked about this, but are there any other positive or negative sides of being connected to technology at your age? Because I was not, obviously, as connected back when I was your age. So any positive or negative things that you see?
Well, yeah, I think when I was younger and just all through my childhood, I was way too connected to my phone. And I just wish I could go back and just appreciate the outdoor and the nature. And like yesterday, it was such a beautiful day outside, and I did not want to spend it inside, just because we don't want to waste those days. Let's spend it on a rainy day. When it's beautiful outside, then just go outside. So yeah, and I think when you were younger, Mom, you guys had more freedom probably, right? And from the movies I've seen from back then, you just ride your bikes everywhere and just spend all day outside, just have fun with your friends. And that's just something that I miss, and I wish that could happen in this generation. But I think also that people tend to look at the positive things, especially in the past. Like some people, I think there was a verse in Lamentations that we were reading with our Tridio teacher, and it was saying, do not wish that you could go back in time. And I asked him about it, and I asked him what it meant, and he said that it usually means that there's negative things to every time. Like this wasn't exactly in your day, like maybe 10, 20 years before you were born, but wars, women's rights, racial discrimination, there was negativity in everything. Like in my childhood, sometimes, people wish that they could be younger again, be a child again, but they don't think of the bad things that they had to go through. And like, yeah, I wish I was a child again, but I was way too connected to technology that I didn't appreciate my childhood.
So that's so true. And even as you say that, you don't even have that much access. Your phone more acts like an iPad, right? And even with that, I know you addressed that too, that you don't have data, you don't have a SIM card, you don't have any of that. Yeah. You can get on Wi-Fi. And imagine, Maddie, even with more access to technology, how maybe that would have stolen some of these really great times that you're kind of talking about and thinking about, One of the things that I appreciate about you, one of the many things I appreciate about you, is that you do want to live out your life fully. And I love that you challenged me in a good way on that too. Just the other night, you were talking about how beautiful it was, and you said, let's go take a sunset walk down on the Sound, which is the other side of the body of water from the Gulf where we live. And so we did, and I don't know, we were only down there for maybe 20, 30 minutes. But tell what happened with the sunset and the kayaker. We had the coolest experience.
Well, we were just about to miss the sunset, so we ran down there. It's like it kind of curves, and so at the point of the curve, that's where you could see the best sunset. So we ran down there to take some photos of the sunset, and we saw our neighbors out there. So it was nice catching up with them. And then we realized after the sunset, there was a kayaker, and the sky was painted with beautiful colors behind it. So I told my mom, hey, how about we take a photo? And the photos looked absolutely beautiful and magical. And my mom said, hey, that would be cool if we could just airdrop the photo to them. And I said, yeah, just yell out to them, see if they want it. And she said, I don't know, they're kind of far away. I don't know if they want it. But I ended up convincing her to do it, and she did it. And they were so happy. They were like, yes, let's go. Here's my number. And I think it was a dad with his daughter. And that was a cute memory to make as well on another subject. But yeah, they were very appreciative to see all the photos, and they were very beautiful photos.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you said, let's get out of the house. Let's go do that together. And we did. And we not only made a memory for ourselves, but we made a memory for this kayaker who was out there with his kid, and we don't even know who he is. And now he's got some great sunset pictures of that too. So, okay. This has been such a good conversation. You're doing a great job.
I feel like I'm yapping.
You're the guest. I'm just the host.
Okay.
No, this is how it's supposed to be. You're doing perfect. Okay. By the way, we had talked about, and I know you're getting over a little cold too and cough, but you're doing great. You're okay. And we did talk about that you could come back for a part 2 if there are some questions that maybe you have for Maddie, or maybe your teenage daughter's listening to Maddie, or teenage granddaughter's listening. You're like, you know what? She really has some good points to say. I'd like to ask some more questions. So we can always have a part 2. All right. So let's talk about being a teen. What is the hardest part about being a teenager today? Madeline?
Well, I think I've said a lot about this, but the technology.
Yeah.
Back then, people had to, back in my age, and when my mom was young, people would meet together and more physical contact than now. There's just a lot of over technological contact. And I just wish that that could happen more. So.
Yeah. You know, we can miss out on the human connection because we feel like we're connecting, right? Because we're watching all these people on YouTube or we're, whatever, but we're not actually doing that. I know we had talked about how it would have been fun to live in a little town like Gilmore Girls where everybody's out and about all day and they don't talk on the phone. They just knock on each other's doors.
Or just barge into
they
each
just
other's
barge
houses.
in as well. I know, exactly. Well, I think too, let's sort of take this a twist on it. Not just what's hard, but what do you wish, is there anything that you wish that adults better understood about what it's like to be a teen?
Well, I haven't really had a lot of, what's the word? Contact with boys, or when I'm fine with that. But I haven't really had any relationships or anything. But I think over what I've seen on YouTube, I've said this a lot, but there's a lot of people on there who have had relationships. And it's just crazy to see these kids playing with each other's emotions. Like, they're not even accounting that people have feelings. And it's just crazy to see that these guys have, I don't want to just say guys, but I will for it now, that they have tens of hundreds of girls in their contacts and they have a girlfriend. Like, that's just so unbelievable to me. And I mean, sometimes I talk with my mom and I ask her just some questions about her past because she's like my role model and I want to know what I can learn from her. So sometimes she tells me some relationships she had with guys and how they treated her. So it's really nice to know, like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this.
Oh dear. I think you're going to say it.
I'm going to say it. Her and my dad broke up for a year.
Oh yeah, well, we were dating. Yeah, we did. It's okay, you can say it.
Okay. And she called and she was sick and she had to go to the hospital. She was having some health problems. And she called my dad, her ex-boyfriend, and he picked her up and brought her to the hospital. Didn't he stay with you and bring you like flowers and food?
Yeah, it was like 3 a.m. and we'd been broken up about 6 months and I didn't know what else to do. And I called him at 3 a.m. and he came and he took me to the hospital and then he stayed there all night.
Straight out of the movie.
Oh, it did.
But,
I know, it was really sweet.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of
He's a good guy.
Girls, like I've talked to a lot of my friends and we all say, I really want to find a love like in the movies. And I just really hope that these guys can whip it together and get back in shape.
Get their act together. Maddie, well, since you said that, I hope this is okay that I say this too.
Oh, no.
It's okay. I think it's okay. There was a boy that you know, and he was, I think, probably trying to brag about how many girlfriends he said he'd had. And you said, I remember you said something like let's just pretend he had like 13 girlfriends. And you said something like
past girlfriends. Not currently.
Not current. In his young life. And you said something like, well, why on earth would I want to be number 14? I want to be somebody's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, girlfriend, that's what I'm talking about. Knowing your worth and your value, Maddie. That's
know how beautiful you girls are, because
inside and out. Yeah. Inside and out. And the older you get, the more you do ask me about my life and the more I do reveal to you, age appropriate stuff, right? The more I reveal to you. And one of the things that your dad and I talked to you and Braden about is the difference between dumb decisions and deadly decisions. Because we're all going to make dumb decisions in life. We are. And we're going to think, oh, that was stupid. Or I shouldn't do that again. Or what did I learn from it? But what we're really wanting to avoid, and I don't just mean getting in a car with somebody who's been drinking or, that could be deadly. But I also mean deadly as in it's hard to come back from that choice. Yeah. That choice might affect the rest of your life. So I am happy to tell you some things that I've learned when I was your age or a little bit older so that I can hopefully help prevent some of those decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm going to be the designated driver.
I love it. Good girl. Yeah. Good girl. You already know. We talk about pre-deciding. It's so much easier to decide before you're in the situation. Because in the situation, a lot of times you're tending to either go with your emotions or feel peer pressure. Yeah. But if you pre-decide, then you don't have to question it, right? Yeah. You already know. Exactly. I love it. Okay. So let's kind of wrap up some stuff here. Although I think we could talk forever.
I think so.
So brilliant, Madeline. What's something that you're really proud of for achieving this past year?
Well, volleyball, I know I definitely worked hard on volleyball. And during the summer especially. And I wasn't with my whole team, so I had to work on my individual skills, probably passing, like I just passed against my wall or something. But I know
with your mom.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I would make a great hit, and my mom would catch the ball. That was something.
Well, I didn't have to practice perfectly. You did.
That's true. But I'm only in 8th grade, and I'm not bragging when I say this, but I am a starter on varsity. It's probably just because our school is so small that they needed the people, but it's okay. I'm okay with that. And I know sometimes that I'm the weak link, and that's in my 2nd year playing. So I know what I have to work on. And next year, I know that I'm not going to be that person that's always making the mistakes. Next year, I'm going to be the person encouraging those other people who are making mistakes. Hey, let's get it together. You got this. Because I know what it felt like making those mistakes and having my team there to just get it out of my head. And that I really appreciated that on my team. And academically wise too, I know that at the beginning of our 2nd semester, I was struggling with some of my grades, and I probably shouldn't have been this focused on them. I should have just glorified God in what I did to the best of my abilities. But someone who is competitive, I wanted some really good grades, and I pulled them out. So I'm pretty proud of myself for that too.
Yeah. There's some things that come naturally to you, Maddie, and that is a great thing. But it also sometimes means that someone can settle because you naturally do well in school. You naturally are athletic, and it would have been easy for you to just say it's good enough.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that that is an asset of yours that says, I'm not just going to settle for okay or average. I'm going to push myself. And you were out there every day. You didn't have to be. It was the summer. You were out there every day working on your serves, working on your hits, working on your passes. And that hard work is evident. It's showing now.
And it didn't make immediate progress, obviously, but
That's a
slowly
good point,
I saw myself getting better slowly in each like skill set. So, I mean, you can't expect results immediately. You're going to have to work hard on it. Just
So
like
true.
my schoolwork. Sometimes, when you get a bad grade, it pulls your average down a lot, but if you get a good grade, it keeps it pretty much the same. So that's something like once you get your grade down, it's not going to poof right up after one test. You got to work on it test after test after test to get it back up.
Yeah, it takes some patience and some dedication and some consistency for it to show up and make a difference. So what goals or dreams do you have? So it's your birthday. Okay, so it's time to set some goals or dreams for this next year for yourself.
Well, I'd say definitely, like I've already said a little for volleyball and academics, just, specifically volleyball, but just get as good as I can and grind this summer. And I want to be really good when the next season starts so people can say, wow, she's only a freshman. Because, and like in mock trial last year, I was in 7th grade, and not bragging again, but I got...
Girl, this is my podcast. We can talk all the good stuff about yourself. It's
I
good.
got best defense attorney, and I was in 7th grade. I was 12 or 13 maybe. But this year, like I was good last year, but this year I want to know that I deserved that award, because I was having some like, are you sure that that was me? Because I just need to be confident, and having a year under my belt will definitely help with mock trial and things like that. So yeah, I think those are some goals that I want to accomplish.
For sure. And you've always put yourself in situations to push yourself. So this mock trial, our small little classical school goes up against the giant public schools that are in our area, and you really have to step up and step in, and sometimes that's scary, step out of your comfort zone.
I think also one more goal.
Yeah, go ahead.
At the beginning of this school year, I decided that I'm going to pray to God before bed every night. And I've fallen short of that because I'm human, but I'm not neglecting it on purpose. It's just something that I probably aren't, I'm not prioritizing as much as I should. So that's why I'm forgetting about it. Because when I'm in bed, it just doesn't have the same effect as when I'm kneeling beside my bed. If I'm in bed, I'm going to fall asleep while I'm praying. So when I'm kneeling next to bed, it also helps me have a clear mind before getting in bed. And I know that I started praying to God throughout the day as well over the little things, because if you don't pray to him about the little things, he's not gonna trust you with the big things. He's not gonna give you those battles with the big things if he knows that you don't appreciate the little things that he's giving you.
Girl, preach it. So good. One thing that I tell, and usually it's for maybe girls or guys a little bit older than you, as they're maybe graduating high school or graduating college, is I say, okay, do you want to know? I can tell you exactly what God's will is for your life. Like, do you want to know? I mean, that's pretty cool, right? Like,
I don't want to.
You don't want to know? No, I can tell you. It's good. It's good. I can tell you exactly God's will. And it's 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18. And it says, rejoice always. Pray without ceasing,
and in everything give thanks, for that is the will of your God, Lord Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? So you're deciding. I know, that was great. We didn't even practice that. We didn't even talk about this. But that piece, you're always going to be in his will, and you don't have to doubt it. You're going to be listening to him as you're having gratitude and as you're thankful and as you're praying to him. So I love that. Okay. We've covered a lot of ground. So
my voice is going hoarse again.
No, you did great. All right. So what advice, Mad, would you give to either your younger self or maybe to other teens today?
My younger self would definitely be get off your phone. Get off technology. Appreciate the outdoors, because that is one of my biggest regrets in life, looking back and knowing that I was way too connected to technology. And to my younger girlies out there, be confident in yourself, be confident in your looks. Don't make insecurities over things that don't matter. Like, look at yourself. Look how beautiful you are. I don't want to hear you say one bad thing about yourself, because if you said something like, I'm so ugly, look how ugly my eyes are, change those eyes with yous and see how damaging that is to say. You are so ugly. The color of your eyes are just basic. Like, if you change those words, you would regret what you were saying.
You're right. We would never say to somebody else the things we say to ourselves. Yeah, we need to stop that. Today's the day.
It's very damaging. People think it's not a big deal, but like, that's not good for your mental health.
Yeah.
Or for your physical health.
Well, it's your birthday, so you can ask everybody to give you the gift of loving themselves today.
Yes. I'd appreciate that a lot.
I love that. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the bonus question, but before I do want to compliment you on another area. I know you're my little budding entrepreneur, and I know that that's something that you love, is to work hard and get rewarded for it. I don't know if you remember this, but this was also quite a few years ago. Maybe you were 8 or 9, and I was getting ready. I was in my bathroom, and you came in, waltzing in, twirling in, spinning in, whatever you did. You came in and you said, Mom, I need to make some money. Is there something I can do? Now, this is not abnormal because you say this a lot.
I say it a lot.
Yeah. And you do work for me in my office now, and you're amazing. You're my most incredible assistant in my office. But at the time, I think the house had just been cleaned. So I maybe threw out a few things, and you didn't like what I was saying. You don't want to do any of those things.
Yeah.
So I
clean the garage.
Yeah.
Clean the
and you're like, ugh. And I said, Maddie, I think maybe you were 8 or 9. So I was like, Maddie, you're 8 years old. What do you need money for anyways? And do you know what you did? You stopped and you looked at me and you're like, Mommy, every girl needs a way to make her own money.
I don't remember that really.
And I was like, oh my goodness, how have I raised this girl? I've raised her right. Her right. Every girl needs a way to make her own money. That's something that you're passionate about. And I know you're willing to put in the work. You do that in our neighborhood.
Oh yeah. So this summer I've done it a few summers, but I think the summer before this one I took a break. But I have a menu of sweet treats that I will bake, and I go around the neighborhood and ask people what they would like. And then 2 days later, I bring it to their doorstep. And some people would be like, oh, I guess I'll just take a 2-pack of cookies because I don't think it's going to be any good anyway. So I deliver to their doorstep my secret recipes, and they eat them, and they're like, oh my goodness, what is this? They're so good. Why didn't I order more? I think we got that message from about 2 people. So then they're like, okay, next year I'm getting way more than that. So, I mean, you got to start small if you want to get big.
That's right. And you got to believe in your product, and you got to believe in what you're doing. And you were cute one year. You set up a little lemonade stand with a couple of the neighbor girls and neighbor kids. And on the the big sign they held out, instead of lemonade stand, because everybody sees that, you just wrote, we take Venmo.
Really?
Yeah. And people would bike by, they're like, oh, I don't have any money. You're like, we take Venmo. Like, okay, I guess I will. Well, Mad, it's been so fun having this conversation with you. And I always close with every single guest with the question of, if I gave you the gift of a bonus hour, you can do whatever you want with this hour. What would you do?
Anything I want?
Any girl. Do I need to leave the room so you can be honest? No. Anything you want.
Well, the first thing that popped in my head was probably just meeting God, going to a little cafe, drinking some coffee with him or something, and just asking him all the questions that I was wondering about. And that'd be pretty cool. It'd be hard when the hour was over, because then I would have to wait a long time to see him again. But yeah, that'd be fun. I have a lot of questions, so.
Well, I don't really have much to say after that because I think, no offense to anyone else's answers, but that's probably the best answer I've ever heard. That was really good.
Thank you.
You're something.
Thank you.
You're really, really something. Maddie, thank you for spending this time with us.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
I appreciate it. Have the most, we're going to hug. I love you.
You can't hear the hug over the mic.
But we're hugging each
Yep.
other, squeezing each other. Thank you for being real and honest and for just sharing your story with all of us today. And we're better for it. And happy birthday.
Thank you.
I
Thanks
love
for
you.
making my birthdays always so special.
Oh, you are so special. All right, friends.
Part 2 may be coming later.
That's right. Hey, dig deep. What questions do you want to ask Maddie? We'll post in social. We'll post it on social media. Don't stay on it too long.
Yep.
And you can ask all the questions you ever wanted to Maddie.
Okay.
All right, guys. Thanks again.
Bye, guys.
See you next time. Bye.
Thank you for joining me on the TikTok podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and leave a 5-star review. Your feedback fuels our mission to help you master your time. Set your alarm for our next episode, and until then, make every moment count.